So hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar, Gen AI, Simplifying Your Day-to-Day Work. My name is Rish, and I'm a data scientist at CEDAR, which is Ireland's Center for Applied AI and European Innovation Hub. I'm joined by my colleague Joshua, who will be helping out with your questions in the chat throughout this session. So today we are going to cut through the hype and explore how Gen AI tools can make your day-to-day work more efficient. Practical tips you can start using right away. So this session is made possible through CEDAR's EDIH for AI program, supported by Enterprise Ireland and European Commission. So this is the agenda for today. We'll start by looking at how AI tools like ChatGPT can instantly query our financial and operational data in plain English. So instead of digging through endless spreadsheets, you get clear, actionable insights in seconds. Next, we're going to walk through a simple but powerful automation, handling leave requests using Google Forms, Sheets, and AppScript. Imagine replacing those clunky manual approvals with a seamless self-running system that saves both time and effort. So this will be a tool that will be created with the help of ChatGPT. And up next, we will see how Claude AI integrates with Canva, transforming text-heavy reports into clean, visually engaging presentations. And then finally, we are going to move into the world of personalized sales emails, where web-enabled language models can draft messages tailored to each client, helping you stand out in the crowd, inboxes, and improve response rates. So finally, we'll wrap up the summary with key takeaways, and I'll open the floor for some Q&A session. And you can bring your questions, ideas, or even challenges on the table. So lots of ground to cover, and I encourage everyone to think about where we can apply these tools into our own workflows, into our own use cases as we go along. So just a general disclaimer for everyone, this session is being recorded. So if everyone is not comfortable turning on their video, they can happily do so. And all trademarks, logos, brand names mentioned, they're the property of the respective owners. We have used an artificial data set and a fictional company name for the use cases. So any resemblance to real business is purely coincidental. So I will begin now with our first use case, which we talked about, is querying financial and operational data. So let's dive into that. When most people think of Gen AI, they picture it writing stories or blog posts, but its potential goes far beyond that. It can actually help us analyze numbers and financial data in ways that we feel intuitive. So think about this example. Instead of scrolling through endless spreadsheets, we could simply upload our revenue and expense files and ask questions in plain English, like what were our total revenue last year? And tools like ChatGPT can give us the answer instantly. In plain English, that'll be a game changer, right? So beyond answering these questions, AI can spot patterns and trends in revenue and expenses. It can simplify complex financial jargon into language everyone can understand. And it can turn forecasts into easy to follow stories rather than just tables or numbers. So of course, a good lesson to take away is that AI isn't a replacement for your expertise. It's a partner. So like any tool, it can make mistakes. So it's important to always review its outputs with our own professional judgment. So the key takeaway here is Gen AI can transform spreadsheets into insights and stories, helping you focus less on crunching numbers, but more on making decisions. And then with that, we'll move on to the next use case that we're going to cover in the session, which is automate leave requests. For this use case, we have identified a very common yet insolvable problem most businesses struggle with time to time. We all know how tedious manual leave approvals can be: endless back and forth emails, messages, delays, and lots of wasted time. So the good news is we can completely automate this process with a simple workflow using Google Forms, Sheets, ChatGPT, and AppScript. We'll see in more detail when I will cover this use case in practice in a few minutes. So for this use case, imagine when an HR manager marks a request as approved, the script will automatically send an email to the employee with the decision and even create a calendar entry for their leave. So everyone can see that completely hassle-free. So this workflow doesn't just save time, it also gives employee instant feedback and frees HR or business managers from repetitive admin tasks. So a very small change, but a big impact on efficiency and employee experience. We'll talk more about this use case when we will see that in action. And then the third use case that we're going to cover is, and I guess we have all been there. We all have long, clumsy, text-heavy documents, and we all think of condensing that into an engaging presentation. And it is daunting. It is very time-consuming. So this is where Claude AI integrated with Canva really shines. With just a text prompt, Claude can generate a full presentation directly in Canva. And it doesn't just stop there. It can also resize and adjust images to fit the layout. It can tweak slide designs for consistency, even search your existing Canva documents to pull summaries and reuse brand assets. Um, how this works is using Canva's model context protocol. And in very simple language, that's just a framework that lets AI interact directly with the design workspace. So at the moment, this use case we are covering in this webinar, but it does require a paid Claude and Canva subscription to unlock these features. So to get the most out of these use cases, a few best practices that always are is to be specific in our prompts, reference for brand assets for a consistent look, and iterate gradually with each prompt. We make changes. And then this is the last use case that we will be covering which is drafting personalized sales emails. So we all know that sales outreach works best when it feels personal. GenAI can analyze a client's profile, offerings, or recent initiatives and turn that into a tailored message, saving both time and improving open and response rates. With web-enabled language models, AI can even fetch fresh details about your target client, making cold outreach warmer and helping you focus on high-value conversations. And with that, we'll move on to the demo session now, where we'll put everything we have covered into the practice. So I will stop sharing now for a moment, and I will reshare now. And Joshua, maybe if you can confirm, that'll be great.
Yes, Rich, we can see your screen now.
All right, perfect. So I hope everyone has seen this screen before, but if someone hasn't, this is just a simple interface of ChatGPT, which is a language model. This is where we give the prompt. And let's start with the first use case that we discussed, which is querying financial data. So what I have with myself is I have a file that contains some business information. And the company name is again fictional, Thunderlight Limited. We have their finance and operations data, but the data is too much in the spreadsheet. And we want to simplify the entire process. We want to know what the meaning this data could tell, what insights we could draw from it. So I have the prompts ready with myself. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to analyze this sheet first. And if we see carefully what I'm telling ChatGPT is, you are a professional finance personnel. I will ask you a series of finance and operation questions on this data set. Carry out your due diligence before responding. So I'm going to just send it now. And maybe it's going to take a couple of seconds to analyze the data set, maybe to spot any patterns. Basically, at this stage, it is just learning the Excel spreadsheet that I've just given the language model. So we'll give it a couple of seconds. And while it does that, we'll maybe see, what questions can we ask it. We can ask both technical and non-technical questions to the language model. Maybe, how did the business make money this year and where did most of it go? And then we're also defining it that keep the response as non-technical, or maybe explain what the business owns and what it owes. And we can also ask the ChatGPT itself, to give us the prompt so that we can query data much more meaningfully. So it is taking a few more seconds, and then maybe we can wait a bit. It generally takes maybe less than 60 seconds to 120 within 1 to 2 minutes, depending on what the file size is. And this is again a very good use case where it saves a lot of time for everyone, where instead of studying each file, instead of investigating each file, we are just uploading that in a fraction of a second. We are able to do so much so. So as we can see, it has analyzed the file, and I'll just zoom in a bit and we'll see a very quick overview. I'll not cover everything here, but this is just a representation of what ChatGPT has understood of this Thunderlight file. So these are the sheets. It has identified, okay, how many rows these are. The columns are not null cells. This is basically a sanitary check that it has done, just like any other analyst, financial analyst, or data analyst would do. But it just did that within a couple of seconds, as we can see. So it's column profile, field value account, etc., uniqueness ratio, um, numeric columns with negative values, etc. So now we take a look. It says, awesome, thanks for the heads up. I've loaded your workbook and run a quick trust but verify pass. So I'm ready to detail finance and ops questions. Perfect. Now we're at a stage where it has analyzed, it has learned the entire file, and we can ask questions like, I am a business owner and ChatGPT is my financial analyst. So maybe we'll try with the first question here, which is, explain it to me in a short paragraph. How did the business make money this year and where did most of it go? And then we're going to keep it non-technical so that everyone can understand. And I'll hit enter. Maybe again, it's going to take a couple of seconds to find the relevant information from the file while it does its processing. And in the meantime, okay, it's already ready. So if we see, it's still generating the response, but we can it says the business made more money by selling hardware, bringing in just under 500,000 in sales. Um, but running the business was expensive. Producing and delivering those products took a big slice, and staff payroll plus day-to-day operating costs absorbed even more. On top of that, the company spent on equipment to support growth. So while money came in steadily for customers, most of it quickly went back out to cover salaries, supply payments, and investment in operations. So this is a non-technical explanation. If and this information is very critical if someone wants to take key decisions on the business. We do understand the technical side. We see all the ratios. We all see the business jargon, the financial jargon. But when the time comes to take decisions, we need information in simple and easy to understand language. And this is exactly that we're saying now. So maybe what I'm going to do is we'll try again with another question. And again, this use case is not just limited to this, as I have explained earlier. This is just an example of Thunderlight, a fictional company that we have created that sells laptops. So the question that I ask is, explain what the business owns and what it owes. So we are seeing basically assets and liabilities. So if we see it has over 500,000 in cash on hand, beyond that, there are amounts tied up in customer receivables and inventory, but these are currently recorded negatively in the books. And then if we see about the liabilities, the main obligation is to suppliers with a bit of 100,000 still payable. Other categories like leases or deferred revenue are showing zero. And what's left, which is equity, the company has some shareholder capital invested, but accumulated losses have eaten into that, leaving equity in a weak and negative position. So in plain terms, this is where the cream part, the vanilla part is. In just one line, we would understand. Instead of digging all the sheets, reading all the numbers, can just understand everything within one line. So in plain terms, let's see what it says. The company's strength is cash. Its main debt is to suppliers, but its overall balance sheet shows strain because losses have reduced its net worth. All right. So these were just a couple of questions that we have asked, and then as we have discussed that with when it comes to using AI, there are endless possibilities. There are endless use cases that can be drawn with language models. So the query that I'm giving right now is suggest prompts that can help me get the best insights out of this data set. So again, when we are interacting with the language model, it's just a game of interaction. My response would be as good as the prompt that I'm going to give the language model. So it needs to be precise, it needs to be clear, it needs to be straightforward for the language model to understand. And if we see, it has categorized the responses very well in finance, sales, operations, budget versus actuals, and people and workforce, customer service, and it's still going on. So maybe we'll take a look at a couple of these, summarize the main reasons the company is losing money despite strong sales, and what are the goals and net margins, how do they compare to budget, sales and revenue, is revenue concentrated in a few products or even more evenly spread, which is again great. And for the audience, as I have said, that this is not just limited to this. You could upload any file to ChatGPT and query however you like. Right now, we are covering a business use case, but maybe you have a query about different things. Maybe you have a query about a manufacturing log workbook. And you want to query um, a use case is. Maybe you have a security log, or maybe any other use case, and it's just not limited to an Excel file. You can upload a PDF file as well, or you can upload a Word document as well. Whatever you want to know, whatever insights you want to generate, GPT models can very well do that. So with that, we are covering up the first use case that we have. And again, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to post that into the chat, and my colleague Joshua will be answering them right away. Any other use cases that are left up, Joshua can make a quick note, and then at the end of the session, in the Q&A session, we can cover up that in much more detail. So with this, our first use case is complete. Again, any questions, please feel free to post that into chat, and then we'll soon be moving on to the next use case. Our next use case is, give me a second. All right. Joshua, again, can you please quickly confirm if my screen is visible?
Yes, Krish, we can see your screen.
All right, perfect. So the use case that we have here is about a business process that was not automated before. Think of it as, just a very raw example that I'm a business owner and I have maybe, 70, 80 people working in my business. It's a small business enterprise and I don't have much, money or much infrastructure, to have a dedicated IT team or an HR software. So what we have done is we have used ChatGPT to create a very simple, structured process that can record the information when any employee requests a leave. And it could be training, it could be sick leave, it could be parental, or it could be, holidays, vacation, PTO. But that information needs to be recorded. And the business use case was recording that maybe in a notepad or maybe in its own spreadsheet one by one. And employees were requesting leaves over WhatsApp or maybe over email or maybe in person verbally. And then the business owner used to struggle very much recording that information and managing the workflow, who's taking leave and when. So what we have done is we have integrated a few things: Google Forms, Google Sheets, AppScript, and ChatGPT, of course, to create a solution for this problem. So we can streamline the entire process and save the manual work and optimize and efficientize the entire process. So what I really want everyone to focus on is how we are going to have this process first. So I hope everyone is familiar with Google Forms, but if someone is not, this is just a web link that someone gives, forwards it to someone else, and that kind of opens up a digital form. And this is what we're seeing: time of request, leave reason. These are the radio button options. One can select only one at a time. And then maybe I will ask Joshua. We can see we don't have an entry. Maybe Joshua, can you just fill a random entry, and then we can try with that example.
Okay,
Uh,
Krish.
yeah. So we can see leave reasons as holidays, training, sick, as I've already said, time off from, time off until. This is a calendar date that someone can select. Any additional comments that someone wants to add, maybe, going on a vacation or maybe a specific reason they want to state. And then any supporting documents, maybe, travel tickets, maybe a sick leave certificate, etc. That's just about the Google form. And then when anyone fills out this Google form, the information comes up in the Google Sheet. So as Joshua is filling up this form, we would see a new entry being created here in row number 6. Maybe I'll just zoom in a bit. Yeah. Yeah. As everyone can see, a new entry has been created. Joshua has just filled a form. And we have captured Joshua's email. This is again pre-configured in the Google form itself. We have captured this information. The leave reason is training, time off from 28th of August to 1st of September. Additional comments are none. And then if you take a careful look at columns H and I, this is something that we have manually created here, which is the approval status. And then column I says the notification status. We can ignore the column J for now. This was created just to count the number of days someone has requested the leaves, which is just through a formula. So the business use case that we have identified is, what if, I could just do this? Okay, I am the business owner or maybe the manager or the supervisor, and one of the employees have requested, leave. And I, instead of talking to the employee directly, which again consumes a lot of time, uh, I could just, select approved here, and then an automatic email should go to Joshua stating that, hi, your leave request has been approved for these dates, and the process is automated. Now we can see that, this is just one employee. Maybe it will take a minute or two to do this job. But, when managing a business, there are so many processes. You want to automate as much as you want to. And this is where, the good side of language models are. They're not just limited to writing poems or drafting emails. We can have n number of use cases. And this is just one another unique use case that we want to show today to the audience. So now that we have seen how this Google Sheet looks, what information we are capturing, now we're going to see how we automated this process. Because for this, we needed some code in JavaScript, but we are assuming that me as a business owner didn't know how to code. But I knew a few things about AppScript, which we are again going to see. So Google Sheets has this feature of AppScript, where what we can do is we can have a few lines of code to automate the backend processes. This, we can have a button to analyze the data, clean the data, sort the data on a day-to-day basis, add filters, generate insights, send emails. There are so many things that can happen within Google Workspace, Gmail, Google Spreadsheets, Google Docs, etc. So we have the prompt ready. What I'm going to do is, again, as I have said that based on the assumption I am a business owner, I don't know how to code. And I'm going to open maybe a new chat here and send it to ChatGPT. And then maybe let's take a look at while it does that. So write a Google Apps script function in my function that does the following. Find the last row in column A, loop through all the rows from row 2. For each row, read column H, which is the leave request status. Column I is a notification flag. Column B, recipient's email address. If the status is approved, prepare an email body. Dear employee, your leave request has been approved. If the status is not approved, still send the email to the employee that, yes, for some reason, your leave request was not approved. And also include in the email body values from column C to H, which we see are here to here, just so that whenever we are notifying the employee, we are again reiterating that this is the information that we have received and we are approving the leave for these dates for this particular reason, and so on and so forth. So as I have sent that, if you see Google ChatGPT has generated some code over here. What I'm going to do is, because I have already done that, but I'm going to show it to the audience how that works. What I basically did is I copied the entire code from here. Because my prompt was very well defined, I already defined which column contains information in what section, what column C has, what column H and I stands for. My code is basically ready. I may not need to redefine or edit my code because I don't know how to code. So I will just copy this code and then maybe paste it here. Say I copied the code from here and I pasted it here. and then my backend function is ready. All right. So we have seen one use case, which is Joshua has requested a leave. And then maybe let's say we are not approving Joshua's leave. We are letting him work a bit more. So I'll just keep the status as not approved. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this function and already have my email opened up, and we will see how if this notifies Joshua or not. And Joshua is already in the meeting. He can confirm whether he has received any email or not. So maybe if I run this now, we can see execution has started. And yeah. And if I go to my sent folder, I will see at 12:57, this email was sent automatically. Dear employee, your leave request has not been approved. We already have the data in the email body. Training start date was from this August 28th to Monday, September 1st. Reason not approved. Thank you. And then sincerely, we have just said bot one. And Joshua can also confirm if he has received the email.
Yeah, it came in some seconds ago.
All right. So now we see that earlier in column I, this section was blank, but as it has sent the email, it has said notified, so that whenever we are running this function next time, this is not sending emails again and again and again. So imagine this right now, we just have like 5 rows of data, but what it's doing is it's replacing the entire manual process where maybe employees were requesting leaves via email, and now they're using Google Forms, and now information is also being recorded. It's being structurally formatted, and it could be time to time reviewed by HRs, or it is ready for auditing as well, for business records as well. So basically, in essence, if we say we have kind of streamlined the entire process. And now you might be thinking that, do I need to run this again and again every time I do this? Not necessarily, because Google Apps Script does have a feature of triggers. We can set up triggers, maybe 30 minutes, maybe hourly, or maybe weekly at 9 p.m. So maybe if we have a few entries, and I'll just clear that up real quick. Maybe on Friday, I'm clearing out these leaves. Okay, I want to approve these 2 leaves. And then if I set my trigger to run every hour, it is going to run every top of the hour, and then it'll send a notification to them. Maybe we can just again try that one more time. These are the 2. And then I'll go to my code, and then I'll hit run, and it is going to send 2 more emails. So you can see it says notified, and then from my email, 2 more emails would have sent. So as you can see, yeah, both at 1 p.m. they were sent. So yeah, with that, we are covering this use case as well, and we'll be moving on to the next use case. And at this time, we have covered halfway through the session. So we have 2 more use cases that are left. We'll be covering that soon. And again, if this use case is a bit unique, it's a bit different. And what I really want the audience is to not think of it as a leave tracker form. This is just a representation of showing that some business had this gap. We filled this gap, identified it, filled it, used ChatGPT's, identified the solution, and build an in-house tool for the business. Um, and just like this, you can have endless possibilities. Maybe instead of approving leaves, you want to send emails. Maybe you want to record any other information. Maybe you want to clean the data, sort the data, but you do know what's in column A, what's in column B, what's in column C, and what needs to be done with the data in column A, what needs to be done with data with column B. And then if column C has this data, what to do with this. And if it doesn't have that data, what to do that. You can just define that into ChatGPT, just like we did here, and it can give you the code. You can have the code as a function over here in AppScript. And again, I can show we go to extensions, AppScript, and this opens up this pane where we paste the code, and then we can run it. We can also have a customized button. If we don't want to open the AppScript again and again, we can just have a button over here. And every time we click that button, the processing, the function that we just created kicks in. And it is not just limited to one function. We can have multiple functions interacting with each other as well. So keeping it very simple, straightforward now, we'll be moving on to the next use case. And our next use case is about using Claude to generate stunning presentations from the data that we have. So if you remember our first use case, we were querying financial and operational data from Thunderworks Limited. What we have done is, because these language models also take some time, it's maybe a few minutes, just to save some time, we have already created an executive summary from the financial data that we have used in the first use case. And what I would like to do is maybe show you how our data looks. So again, Joshua, I'll be relying on you if you could just confirm if my screen is up. Joshua, could you just confirm if my screen is up?
Yeah, we can see a screen.
All right, perfect. So we are not checking this Word document. This is just an executive summary that we created using ChatGPT itself. The prompt that I gave is based on the financial and operational data that we have, prepare a performance review and 2025 strategic financial recommendations. And it has just created this document, but I cannot present this document to the board. For that, we will need presentations, and we all need presentations time to time. So what we're going to do now is we are going to feed this document to Claude, which is again like ChatGPT. It's a language model. Um, so I'm going to feed this report to Claude. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Claude if it can create a Canva presentation using the report we are giving. So on my screen, you will see some processing will be happening. And right now, Canva is generating, it's analyzing the file. And if we just look at the prompt, is you are among the top 1% professional slides designer, transform this business report into an executive level slide presentation using Canva, create 10 slides with a professional corporate design, emphasizing key metrics and actionable insights. Use charts and graphs where data is present. So if we look at the report, the Word document that we had, we already had the information very much summarized, but that doesn't necessarily mean we have to give only summaries. We can give maybe 10, 20, or 100-page document to Claude, and we can customize it however we like to. Maybe I can give a prompt, keep the font size this in presentation, make the slides only 5 pages, only focus on bullet points, or maybe someone wants to have a paragraphs, they can define their prompt accordingly. So as we can see, Claude is generating. It has already done that. And what I really want at this moment for the audience is, now imagine if we all had to do this by ourselves without AI. How much time, I really want everyone to guess in their minds how much time it would have taken. It would have probably been more than 30 minutes or an hour, or maybe even more, depending on how visually appealing or how many elements do we want in our presentations. But in this case, as I'm talking, within a couple of seconds, this was all possible. So let's take a look at the presentations that were created. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click this, and it's going to open up the Canva. All right, so it's going to, yeah. This looks very nice, neat and clean, right? Now, after seeing the presentations, I really want all the audience to think that, it would have taken much more time if we had done this manually. But we just fed the data, and then it has done that. Performance metrics. And then these visualizations, they weren't there, and you can see it is animated as well. It has summarized information as well, that the revenue is increasing, key strength overview, critical challenges overview, strategic priorities. And again, we have animated design. Maybe we'll take a look at the next design as well. But I'll be covering the next further designs very quickly. We are not going to see what's in the presentation because our job is to see how AI can leverage, how we can leverage AI to make all such things possible. So this is again a very nice looking presentation. Key metrics, sales revenue. And then again, one of the things that I really want to highlight is always this is a best practice. Everyone must, whenever we are doing these kind of processes, uh, is these models are maybe 90%, 99% correct, but they're not 100% correct. So always, as a final check, is to match the numbers um, before doing before creating a final version of that. As AI does not generate a final version of something, it's just complementing what we are doing. That's how we see it. And if I'm using this, I cannot just send directly this presentation to my board or anyone else. I would just need to make a few changes, read this, match the numbers. But what it is basically doing is it is letting me focus on what really matters. My job, maybe as a financial analyst, maybe as a CEO, is not to create the presentation or maybe um, making 2D designs. My job is to give the information in a very concise, straightforward, and clear manner. And this is exactly what GPT has allowed us to do that. And in this case, we've used Claude. Um, so again, a very good presentation, very good summary. Again, some good visualizations over here. Maybe the third presentation, if you want to take a look, is a very simplistic one. And this looks very nicely. As we can see, it is animated, very visually appealing. And how it has generated is probably the secret lies in the prompt itself. Maybe if I specify in my prompt, make sure all the presentation examples have green background, it is going to act accordingly. Maybe all the presentation must have the font Tahoma 14. It's going to follow that instruction. So this is very crucial part. What prompt we give, as I has said in the beginning as well, that um, we expect good responses. So we need to make sure that we are giving very concise, clear prompts. Um, so the model's job is basically to follow instructions, and our instruction needs to be very, very clear. So it can read them, analyze them, and produce results as accurately as possible. So with that, I think we have seen this presentation. And again, we can see each presentation includes 10 slides, title, executive summary, financial performance, etc. We can again, reply to Claude, make changes in that. So this is the third use case that we have covered. Now we will be moving on to our final use case of this webinar. For that, we will be using Perplexity, which is again a different tool. So far we have used ChatGPT, now we have used Claude for this presentation. And then now we're moving on to maybe some data generation, research, and real-time web search. So we'll be using a different tool, which is Perplexity. So I'll be sharing my screen again with the Perplexity on, and I hope my screen is again visible, to be sure. So this is again the interface of Perplexity, and we're using Pro version of this, but there's a free version as well available. Perplexity is very good at finding real-time information from the web. So the use case that we are going to cover now is a research work. We, again, as a company who sells laptops, we want to we have already identified our market. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give this prompt to Perplexity, and we have search mode enabled. We have deep research as well enabled. We have labs mode enabled as well. We can identify the sources to web, academic, social, and finance. But for now, let's keep it simple. And I'm going to give this prompt and then hit enter. In the meantime, it generates this. Let's take a look at the prompt. So we are a business-to-business outbound copywriter with live web access. We are defining the job of the AI. Visit the target company website and their news, blog pages, if any, extract only what's needed to tailor a short, credible pitch, write concise, formal, value-focused emails that clearly states who we are, why we're writing, the fit, and the specific next step. We are again defining a few research rules, what to do, what not to do. Do not store any personal data from pages. Up-to-date target company offerings, and so on and so forth. Compliance, we are again defining um, region is EU, Ireland, direct e-marketing must align with GDPR. Copy rules, subject lines, because now Perplexity is doing research of the target company, and the target company is Cedar itself. We have used ourselves as an example. And then some of the rules that we are defining is make sure the subject line is less than or equals to 7 words. First line refers something specific from the target site. Body is between less than 120 to 200 words, 3 short paragraphs, one bulleted micro-proof list, which is 2 to 3 bullet points, no hype or superlatives, quantify value, failure rates, etc. Suggest single low-friction call to action, for example, 15-minute intro, spec sheet, highlight, or quotation. Output format with 5 bullet points summarizing the target. We have so much conditions that we have defined. Um, the part that is above this is something that the audience, all of you, can use. But this is where, the variable part is. This is where we can change. So target and company name is Cedar. We have defined the website as well. Region jurisdiction is EU Ireland. Product details, what we are going to sell Cedar is Underlight Pro 14 and 16-inch enterprise laptops. 3 proof points about our laptops are here. Sender will be this. And then at the last, we are telling carry out your due diligence to ensure all requirements are met before responding. So now let's take a look at response. So maybe it took a couple of seconds again to generate the responses. It has identified what Cedar is, fetched all the information in real time. We can see the sources. First is from Cedar, second is from Enterprise Ireland, from UCD. That is one of the good things is we are not blindly letting the language models to do their job. They are searching in real time, but they're also producing evidences, the links, so we can always do fact checks. Target summary with URLs, we already have it. Find alternative subject lines, advancing AI hardware. We have 5 different subject lines. And then if we look at the initial prompt, I have given prepare 3 professional, formal, alternative final emails, plain text. So we have email option 1, email option 2, email option 3, and then we also have a hybrid style format email, which is a combination of all the 3 um, email options. So maybe just we'll take a look at only one email. Maybe let's take a look at the second one. So if you see in the prompt, we have identified the key targeted personnel whom we should reach out to. So if you see, it has identified our CEO, it has identified our chief technical officer, etc., etc. And then it is also suggesting who to keep in CC, which is very good that, we didn't have to do a lot of research, searching out the websites. It has done that. What probably was a task of 2 to 3 hours or maybe even more, it has done that in a couple of seconds. And then we can always fact check the information with all the sources, all the links that are there. So these are the emails that we are selling. Hi, Cedar is building data centers. We are selling laptops, on-site support 3 years, which is again very good. And then we also have center compliance checklist that it has generated. Further variants if we want to do that. So with this, we are concluding our final use case of today's webinar. Again, if anyone has any questions, feel free to post that into chat. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the presentation deck again to see what we have covered so far. Joshua, could you please confirm if you could see the slide?
Yeah, we can see a slide.
All right, perfect. So this is the use case that we just recently covered. Um, and then after all these use cases, again, it is very, very important that we keep in mind the risks of using Gen AI in our day-to-day tasks. While they are very, very accurate, more than 90%, even 99% in some cases, um, but we must do our own due diligence. So these are some important things to keep in mind is accuracy and reliability. Tools like ChatGPT can sometimes produce what we know as hallucinations, outputs that look convincing, but they are wrong. For example, when querying financial data, we must always cross-check the response against our actual spreadsheets, like I said in the beginning, and where possible, ground the AI in your own verified data sources. Second important aspect to look at is there are data privacy and security considerations. When we input sensitive data into AI systems or we automate workflows like leave requests, as we have seen in the second use case, employee data flows through scripts and shared files. That means access controls and permissions are essential. Only the right people should be able to view or approve requests. Third, um, we have customization challenges sometimes when we use these tools. The quality of AI outputs, like the slides, are only as good as the prompt. Um, there's a very famous saying that a sword is as good as the swordsman who holds it. So just like that, it is with AI. It is as good as how we use it, uh, what capabilities we can take it to, how good of a prompt we can give AI to. So if the instructions are vague, the slides can be generic. And the solution here is to use clear, structured prompts and to plan for a quick round of human refinement to bring them to a standard. Finally, what I would like to say is our quality of input data really matters. For personalized sales emails, as we have seen in the recent use case, if AI fetches records that are outdated or incomplete, the AI will generate content that risks being irrelevant. So even that could even be misleading. So keeping our data clean and up to date by adding a human review, human in the loop is very, very essential. So ensure that, whenever we are generating responses like we have done that now with emails, the email should strike the right tone and then stay accurate. So while each use case offer real benefits, the key message I would like to give is Gen AI works best when paired with good data practices, strong oversight, and human in the loop, which is, I believe, is the most important aspect here. And with that, we will go on to key takeaways, what we have covered. We are almost at the end of our session. Let's quickly recap what we have covered today. We used ChatGPT in the first use case to turn financial data into clear insights. We queried financial and operation data, asked information in plain language, and then got the responses in very simple terminologies. In the second use cases, we automated our repetitive tasks like leave approvals using Google Forms, Sheets, and AI-generated app script. In the third use case, we used Claude AI with Canva integration to transform a report, an executive summary, into a professional, engaging presentation deck. And then in the last use case, we crafted a personalized outreach um, email where we leverage web-enabled language model, which was Perplexity AI, that brought us fresh client insights straight into a prepared sales email. So again, a key takeaway is to all the audience, please take these ideas and apply them to your own unique cases. We have covered 4 unique cases that we thought are relevant, that could be useful in day-to-day lives, but our use cases are not limited to this. There could be n number of use cases. Maybe you can take some inspirations from our use cases and use these language models and other tools to apply in your daily workflows.